Ursula von der Leyen and the European Union have blamed the Albanian small boat migrant crisis in Britain on, wait for it, global warming. Hello, everyone. This is the Lois and Andre show. Lois, how are you today?
Very well, thank you. How are you today, Andre?
Really, really good.
Good.
Look, this first story is absolutely unbelievable. We know that the European Union has been talking for a long time about climate immigration, climate migration. But the idea that these Albanians are going to be coming to the United Kingdom over climate change is just madness.
Well, it is, and everything can be blamed on climate change now. First it was Brexit, then it was COVID, now it's climate change. The things change, but the excuses evolve and everything. The most current thing, climate change, is to blame for absolutely everything, especially if you cocked up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, look, the one thing that's really interesting is that the European Union says it's done a lot on reducing CO2, but that's not proper pollution, is it?
Well, no, CO2 is just an indicator of your actual economic output, because if you reduce your CO2, it means that your industry has basically been completely desecrated.
Yes.
So any statistic that shows our CO2 emissions have gone down is actually showing that our industry is in decline or completely declined.
Well, in that case, let me ask you this. Is it not a good idea to sort of deindustrialize? Because if you think about it, we've built all of our industries. We're now a richer country. I'm playing devil's advocate here, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
But isn't it a good idea to say, well, look, let's ship off all of those factories to China? It won't do anything for the environment, but it will be nicer for local pollution.
It won't be very good if China's completely in charge of us, though, because without them, we're not making anything, we're not doing anything, we've got nothing. If we have no industry, we hand our power over to whoever's supplying it, and at the moment that is China, and they're plundering Africa as well. Have people ever go at us? They should be looking at China.
Well, I just wonder what's going to happen when we've deindustrialized, when we've given all of our businesses to China, when we've done things like trans. I appreciate we don't talk about it massively on this show, but when we've denigrated our society and destroyed our industry, we will miss the day when rule of law, democracy, freedom and free speech was the order of the world. Because it's going.
And what's the point of Brexit? What was Brexit about in terms of being independent, energy independence, making our own stuff, not being dependent on anyone else and being able to make our own decisions? If we hand everything to other countries, that was pointless.
Yeah, what about this figure that the European Union says that they want to reduce? They have reduced CO2 emissions by 30% based on the 1990 levels, but by 2050, they want to be down 55% below 1990 levels. Now, I mean, it just worries me that is going to be so damaging for our economy.
Well, yeah, I mean, we used to have a huge electronics industry in this country. And then what happened, I'm a free marketeer, by the way, so I'm not advocating tariffs or anything else. But what happened is when we were competing with Asia, when we were competing with China and Japan, and they were heavily state subsidized, and we weren't receiving any subsidies, our whole electronics industry was annihilated. So at the same time, the steel, everything went. So I'm not surprised they've used the 1990 figure, because that is when things.
So that was after the bubble burst in the late 80s.
Us making stuff and doing stuff for ourselves. It's not a good thing for our CO2 emissions to be like, means we're not doing anything.
But funnily enough, you said to me the other day, because we now talk quite a lot, when I go to Kosovo, in Eastern Europe, obviously, well, it's not quite Eastern Europe, but you know what I mean, former Yugoslavia, it's, you find it like, you bluntly, your snot in your nose gets a bit nasty because of all the pollution in the air.
Yeah.
But that's not CO2, is it?
No, that's not. No, that's pollution.
So that's just particulates in the air.
CO2 cannot be. It can be measured, but you can't smell it or anything unless you're Greta Thunberg. I see CO2 everywhere. No, you can't. You can't smell it. It's not pollution. That's what a lot of people get mixed up with. They think, oh yeah, because it's like coal. It's not. No. It's.
So see that no, I will admit something that I've been ignorant about that as well, because I've always equated pollution and CO2, but actually they're entirely different things.
They're completely different things. And if anyone remembers doing the life cycle of a plant at school, you'll know that photosynthesis, CO2, is an absolutely essential element for.
But actually, they encouraged diesel cars, didn't they?
Yeah.
And diesel cars have got more particulates coming out, but less CO2. Is that?
Yeah, I know. And then particulates are the things that make you ill. And actually, electric cars, because they're so much heavier, they're wearing out the tires 2, 3, 4 times faster. The particulates that are coming off the tires now of electric vehicles are 100 million times. Well, that's not a literal figure, by the way. Are a lot more damaging for humans than any kind of CO2 emissions. But anyway, we're not reducing our CO2 emissions globally. We're just shipping it out. And, you know, CO2, whether you believe in all that stuff or not, knows no borders.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether it's coming from China or from here. You know, it's going up all the time.
Well, there's loads to unpick and loads of stories to go through. But first of all, what I want to do is show you that obviously this is a new show. We're on our 4th episode. And thank you to Car26 for sponsoring us. But you can see all the details of how to get in touch with us. Now, I want to show you these. Now, how many have we got? Car26 badges. So basically, there's lots of different types. What one have you got?
This is CO2 is live, proudly emitting CO2. Because don't forget, we emit CO2 just by being alive. Yeah.
There is no climate crisis, is it?
Well, that's an opinion, obviously.
Yeah.
That is an opinion. Yeah, there's 8 to collect. They're $2.50 each. One of my favourites is Go Woke, Go Broke. And they're available on the car26.org website. So $2.50 each, or all 8 for £15.
Brilliant.
Plus postage and packing.
Let's get out and order them and start wearing them round, offending the left. But look, you were mentioning about electric cars, and one of the big fans of electric cars is Rowan Atkinson. And Rowan Atkinson has said that he has now fallen out of love with electric cars because he feels duped, because they're not actually good for the environment.
Well, they're not. No, absolutely. They're not good for the environment. In fact, they use a lot more energy to produce. And then even once they're actually on the road, okay, you know, they're not emitting CO2. But where do you think that the electricity comes from to power these cars? Because it's not coming from, you know, a windmill. A windmill is not going to power your electric car. And plus the fact, the minerals plundering Africa. I said to you, everyone goes on the same people who have been talking about it terrible pulling down that Edward Colston statue.
Yes.
And the people with electric cars, there's child slaves in Africa that make them. That today.
I have to say, the slavery thing really, really upsets me, because the number of people who are involved in production of batteries who are basically slaves, and nobody cares. And people are literally out filming stuff with their phone that's been made by a 9-year-old.
No, they don't care. They don't care because it doesn't fit the narrative.
But I just wonder whether part of the reason why people don't care about slavery is the same reason they get electric cars. They're not bothered about the environment. They're bothered about slavery. It's a good way to make themselves sound good. Because look, if I wanted to campaign on slavery properly, I would go to Africa today. I'd go to the Uyghur camps in China. I'd go to North Korea. Well, I pretty much oppose every socialist regime in the world. But if I don't care about slavery and just want to sound good, then I'd worry about Virginia in 150, 200 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's complete. Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about cobalt mining, because let me get this right. So it's in Africa. So there are proper mines, but lots of children end up just picking up lumps of cobalt, and it's quite toxic.
Well, I mean, basically the children, they are technically being paid, but they'll be being paid absolute pennies. And you've got China is in charge of these mines. The kids go down there. I mean, you know, they're working 15-hour days. It's disgusting.
Yes.
And no one cares, because everyone cares about, but we need to reduce our CO2. It's a disgrace, actually.
Now look, Rowan Atkinson collects cars. He's really into them.
I really do like Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah, I will say he's never been one of these woke lovies. And I think you mentioned to me about that amazing speech in the Jubilee Room at the House of Commons when he was talking about.
My wall when I was 10.
Sorry, just to be clear, did you have a poster of Rowan Atkinson?
Yeah.
Why?
I just thought he was lovely.
Rowan Atkinson.
No, but as Blackadder the second, the Tudor one.
Right.
Yeah.
Mind you, I
like dark men.
It has to be said, me and most of my friends.
Did you have a poster of Rowan Atkinson?
Well, we all had posters of WWF wrestlers. Now, on reflection,
Pardon me. What am I one strange? Okay, all right. Let's move swiftly on.
Me and my mates all had pictures.
Not the Hulk.
The Hulk Hogan in his underpants. No, look, when I was 10, the idea of having a picture of a man in his underpants on my wall did not seem strange.
It's all becoming clear now, Andre. Right, should we get on with this?
But look, in terms of the damage that's being done by electric cars, how worried are you about them?
Well, basically, the whole concept is that people aren't supposed to be driving. So they're saying to everyone, you need to have an electric car. They know full well there isn't enough of the minerals in the entire world to replace every car that's on the road at the moment. And there was a report done quite recently by the House of Lords about behavioural change, learning the behavioural science from COVID,
no.
where they actually admitted that the whole move to electric cars, 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, all of that, it's nothing to do with the environment and everything to do with reducing the amount of cars that are actually on the road. They don't want normal people driving on.
Yeah, but that's what frustrates me. And I was out shooting today for my TV show, which is on Talk TV. And I was talking to people, ordinary working class people, the people who do deliveries, the people who, I met one guy and basically he was delivering sandwiches. Now, he said he really, really struggles now. I spoke to another guy who was a bus driver and he said that he reckons his mortgage has trebled. People are in real poverty, but Labour, but Sadiq Khan, but Keir Starmer care about transsexuals and they care about climate change.
Yeah, or climate change and transsexuals. I bet there's a paper written about that. I bet if we looked hard enough, we'd be able to find. No, they don't. They don't care about the working class people, and the Tories don't care about entrepreneurs and business people. Sorry,
transsexual and the climate changers. It sounds like a 70s pop band, doesn't it? Transsexual and the climate changes.
When did trans stop being fun? Like Mark Bolan and Bowie. It was cool and everything was, all a bit like. Now it's when the pharmaceutical companies started medicating kids. Right. That's when it stopped being funny. But anyway, we're not talking about that, are we?
No, but I do think, Lois, all of this feeds in together because I do believe that there is an attempt to destroy our society. And I think that when I look at people who are obsessed with climate change, I don't see the science. I see the religion. And I know we've talked about this on the previous episode, but for me, the zealotry is not about the environment. Now, the other thing is, of course,
these are people that've got no faith, most of
them. We get accused. You've been accused more than me. I'm quite new to this, but of saying that we want more carbon emissions and whatever. Look, all the point that was made, I think, by some people is, look, the Earth will respond, won't it? So there'll be more photosynthesis. So some areas will get more green as a result of CO2, and that will reduce the levels back down.
There's cycles. The world's going through cycles. It has done since time immemorial. We've had much warmer periods in this country in medieval period and in the Roman period as well. The IPCC reports actually, and it's quite interesting actually, they initially had those particular warming periods in their graph, and then they thought, oh God, this doesn't go with our narrative, and then just removed them, So, and then you've got Michael Mann, who did the famous hockey stick graph, which showed that from the Industrial Revolution, it goes up like that. But that's been completely discredited because he took somebody to court for libel and he lost. So, because he started it at the lowest, at the coolest it had been for such a long time. And anyway, it doesn't go up like that. So none of the narrative actually, if you delve into it, actually makes any sense.
Do they know they're lying?
I don't know.
I mean, what's the motivation? Because I find it quite. So I'll tell you what I understand.
Neo-Marxism.
I understand the university kids. I can understand them. They've been brainwashed at school. I mean, if I was told from being a tiny tot that I was going to die from climate change, from the earth burning and me suffocating, I'd be pretty traumatized by that. So I can understand them. But there's a lot of these scientists who are so shrill and over the top. And I've said to you before, I don't mind. Well, it's sad, really.
But there are a huge amount of scientists that just don't get any airtime whatsoever. The BBC made a decision at a famous meeting, I think it was about 15 years ago. There's minutes of it available online. Nothing's hidden, by the way, with all of these things that go on, where they make a decision that they don't have to put both sides of the argument with climate change. So, and actually, they don't have to they actually tell their writers, their journalists and producers to not put the opposite side of the argument full stop on. So they say the science is settled. So, but there's no such thing as the science being settled,
No, and lots of things can change.
I just want a debate.
Yeah. Well, we also want to ensure, and this is one of the reasons why you really should join Car 26 and get those badges, but simply because we want to make it harder to cancel people. And I just want to say to you that the more of you that wear badges out and about, particularly if you're somebody who feels secured, maybe you have your own business or you're retired or something like that, those are the best people to wear them, simply because you're able to set an example that people will follow. Anyway.
Yeah, but we don't want any of those fat women that never kissed a Tory t-shirt wearers.
No,
we don't want them to wear.
Don't want. If you've got the face like a back end of a bus, then Don't worry. Look, Lois. Right? Can I tell you something?
I'd never kissed a Tory until quite recently.
Well, okay. So Lois, what you could do is, even if ugly women join Car 26,
that's fine.
we'll still be on average fairly hot because of you. So there you go.
So every horrible thing you've said about me is okay. Now you balanced it up. Well done.
Yeah, there we go.
See?
Okay. Sadiq Khan has said that he can solve the issue of climate change with, guess what? Sadiq Khan has said that he can solve the issue of climate change, and the reason is that he's going to put, wait for it, wildflowers on verges in London.
He really is a genius, this bloke.
What a joke.
Yeah, absolutely. All the knife crime, everything that's going on, I know what we need. Wildflowers.
Wildflowers on verges.
On to the next story. I can't be asked.
But fundamentally, look, I don't have a problem with that. But one of the things that I really worry about is this. I bet you it won't be just somebody throwing a few seeds out. What it'll be some huge project that'll cost £100 million or some crazy thing. And by the way, I'm still upset with Sadiq Khan. That demand for unlimited immigration is going to put 50,000 people out on the streets. That's a report that's come out in the past couple of days. Wow. He is willing to see 50,000 Londoners thrown out of their homes. No.
He doesn't at all.
Well, he reckons that he's got 74,000 square meters of verge that he can use to wildflower if only he did the gardening himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish he'd go and gardening leave.
Share Action has called on the fund managers across the world to prioritize climate change over and above getting returns for their actual customers.
Well, I mean, yeah, you couldn't make this one up, could you? Because surely funds that they manage include people's pensions and money they've paid into their entire lives. And that is their priority, not climate change or alleged climate change. That is just anti-capitalist.
Yeah, and they're doing it for United Nations World Environment Day. Oh, sorry. Oh.
Are you okay?
But this is a real worry, because what's going to happen is all of these fund managers will get a lot of money, and then when they're long dead and we go to pick up our pension checks, figuratively, not literally, suddenly we discover we've got nothing. Oh, but don't worry, you saved the polar bears.
Yeah, well, as I've said to you this before, the polar bears are doing so well that they've actually got quite brazen and are sort of breaking into people's bins and hanging out. And
polar bears have never met penguins. South Pole and North Pole.
That's amazing. What's the next story?
Well, they probably have it. They probably have in a zoo. But anyway,
okay. They probably have in a zoo.
But talking of wildlife, listen to this.
Oh yeah.
Whales are going to help cut CO2 because they have so much carbon in their body that it's going to help save the environment, according to a new study. Now, Lois, I have to say, the idea that we should breed more whales to deal with climate change.
Where are they going to breed them? Dolphin World in Florida. I mean, they're quite big whales, aren't they? They are quite big. Yeah, this story is very interesting, actually, because it's actually evidence of the fact that the planet does balance up. So what they're saying is their poo, in effect, attracts plankton, which absorbs CO2. And yeah, it probably does. But then halfway through the article, it says, oh, this hasn't been scientifically proven. What we really need to do is cut down on our driving and this, that, and the other. So yeah, they don't actually want there to be any stories that show that the Earth balances itself out. They want.
I mean, it seems to me to be obvious. I mean, this whole idea that you can't do, there's no sort of carbon capture other than the ones that we do manually. I mean, the Earth is full of all manner of sophisticated technologies, many of which are more sophisticated than what we've got. Certainly a whale is.
Extraordinarily more sophisticated, yeah. Especially when you can't pronounce it. I just did. What did I say? Sophisticated.
It's been a long day.
It has been a long day.
But look, the other thing is that it just suggests that photosynthesis is something that is important, and people just forget it. And do you know what annoys me about that statement? It sounds so silly, because we from the age
carbon, you're carbon, I'm carbon, and one of the other things you learn in science, very basic science at school, is energy never goes away; it's just transferred.
Yes.
So whether you're buried or whatever, your energy is transferred. So the Earth, was it? Goldblum says, life will find a way. Do you remember that in Jurassic Park?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Climate extremists have claimed that the reason that Israel is hot is because of CO2 emissions. Lois, I don't know what to say.
Not because Israel's in the desert, then.
I mean, I did see a fair amount of sand when I went there once. I mean, look, it's just any excuse for anything. But what amazes me more than anything else about Israel is the way that they've now got instability in their national grid because the amount of renewables they put on there. And this is a country that's under threat constantly.
Yeah, well, according to the article that I read, they can't actually put any more solar onto the grid. You know, they've actually reached their capacity without covering every single surface that's available. So, yeah, I mean, but also that the same guy, the Israeli energy minister,
Israel Katz,
that is such a good name, by the way.
He's a cool cat.
Yes, he's a cool cat. He's also said that we need extra that he's opposed the government because they're not building 2 new coal-fired power stations. So on the one hand, he's saying, you know, we need to reduce CO2 emissions. It's causing it to be hot in Israel. But then he's also saying that we need to build the coal-fired power stations.
But is Israel a country where it would be worth having solar panels? Because I know that you've said to me before today, they're not a dead loss in every single country. They are in Britain.
No, absolutely. Because the thing is, it's very, very, very difficult to store the energy that's produced by solar and wind. It needs to be used straight away. But I think my understanding is they have reached capacity of what they can do with it, you know, in Israel. So that's what I've read anyway.
I mean, my dad always said if you have small scale solar panels on some new build properties in Britain, it might be worthwhile, but it probably won't. It would be highly unlikely for most people.
Tariffs that you get paid by the government, probably.
Those dodgy feed-in tariffs.
Yeah, the dodgy feed-in tariffs. So, yeah.
Absolute madness. Well, anyway, so I'm going to chalk this up by saying that that I think that probably, and I don't want to go too far on this, probably Israel is one because it's in the Middle East.
Possibly.
Just saying.
Yeah. Should we just throw that out there?
I think we should.
Yeah.
I think we should. The EU is insisting that COP28 force people in the Middle East, regimes in the Middle East, to stop pumping oil. Now, I've got 2 things to say about this, Lois. On the one hand, this is utterly ludicrous. But on the other hand, you know, oil has been good for us, hasn't it?
Well, yeah. And also, I'd like to say good luck with that in terms of, you know, getting them to actually stop producing oil. Life expectancy has doubled since, you know, since the Industrial Revolution, from our age to 80. You know, from
so from our age to the age of the car 26 donors.
Something like that. Yeah. Don't be naughty, Andre.
Absolutely. Well, no, they're very nice.
Get me into trouble. Stop it.
No. What you do is pop the teeth in. They're fantastic.
Pack it in. Get on with it. Go on.
But look, I mean, I don't love Middle Eastern regimes. I think that when it comes to any form of rights, they've been terrible. Women's rights, human rights, whatever. But at the same time, they have given rise to so much benefit to the world. The oil has been a good thing. Now, look, I don't believe that we're going to be using oil in 100 years' time, 200 years' time. I think new technologies have come on, just as oil largely replaced coal and coal largely replaced, frankly, muscle power.
Well, yeah, absolutely. The thing is,
or horsepower.
It's interesting actually because these fuels were only their name was changed to fossil fuels about not that long ago actually, and actually it's a fuel that regenerates and you know, it actually is being produced by the earth all the time. But calling it fossil fuels was a way of making people think that it was finite, but actually the earth is producing oil and gas all the time. New oil and gas.
Yeah.
You don't hear that, do you?
Because
it's going to run out, but it's not.
New fossils are being created all the time.
But I'm glad you didn't point at me.
No. Well, I know better. I know better than to do that. So, okay, Austrian wine producers have said that they'll no longer be able to use the grapes that they've been traditionally using since the Middle Ages. They're going to have to use different grapes to produce wine as a result of climate change.
And so what? But it's probably they're going to get access to some money from that. But, you know, as I said to you before, in Europe, we've had the medieval warming period, the Roman warming period. The temperature of the earth's gone up and down. We've had hippopotami.
I see.
Yeah, hippopotami in the Thames. You know, come on.
Can I tell you something? My mum once said, I won't try and impersonate her, but she sort of properly, she goes, I don't understand why God exists. Why would he make a hippopotamus? What is her purpose? What is her purpose?
She's right.
What's it do?
What's the point? What does it do? You can't eat it. What's going on with it?
It just walks around. Hey, we hippopotamus. There it is.
Oh, great. She sounds like a great woman.
She also said that if I'm quoting her, she said, if God would not have created women in order for them to walk around the park. She said,
Did she say that?
she said, "Oh, come on. God can't want it covered up. He's made these creatures now. Just no, they're not allowed to be seen ever."
Well, that's true. I wouldn't want to not be seen.
It's fair
But I
to
am
say,
very shy, as you know.
oh, well, absolutely shy and
Famously
retiring.
shy.
Right, shy and retiring.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so this next story is something, Lois, that really, really offends me. Shortages in wheat production is as a result of CO2, according to a major new study by the Climate and Atmospheric Science Journal.
No wonder who's funding them. Actually, we've never been more abundant in terms of our crop growth and everything at any other point in human history. And CO2 causes global greening, which is why we're having an abundance of crops and wheat production in particular. This is one of those dodgy climate organisations.
Well, I'm very worried about this because once again, now to me, I'm not an expert, Lois. You're on here to be the expert. I'm just on here to help you out a little bit. But when we talk about all these things, I'm learning more as I go along. But even I know it's the Ukraine war that has caused problems in food production. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not claiming that we're all starving to death. Certainly, I'm not. But at the same time, the suggestion by these dodgy organisations, it's all related to climate change, and also Climate and Atmospheric Science Journal. You know, Lois, these are the people that are running our country, running our continent, and running our world.
We don't
know who they are.
No, we don't know who they are. Also, I don't know, a lot of viewers will be aware that there are compulsory purchase orders being put on farmland in Holland, but all over the world at the moment. And farmland and agricultural land is being lost permanently. Now, if there's going to be a reason why, agricultural production might be going down, which I don't believe that it is, it would be because there's been, land has been taken off people who are using it for agriculture and farming, using the excuse of climate change, putting solar panels on it, or just take.
Well, also remember the fertilizer bans that came in by the European Union.
Well, what happened in Malaysia?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What happened in Malaysia?
Oh, right. Well, basically,
I was trying to sound clever there.
They forced them to go organic, and they banned the use of fertilizers. I'm pretty sure it was Malaysia, and there were riots. So people just literally starving to death.
Yes.
Literally, they just couldn't produce any food.
Yeah, well, it was a major concern for British farmers when they were talking, and because the EU, with its common agricultural policy, was incredibly damaging to people. And people were talking about the cost of food going up. I mean, I believe, by the way, when we get Brexit right, the cost of food will come down, but only if we do that US trade deal, by the way. Yeah. But look, I just worry about the dishonesty that's coming about on all of this. And part of the dishonesty here is this. Keir Starmer has pledged to spend 28 billion. 28 billion.
Class people.
No.
Oh,
dealing with climate change and going for green technologies.